I'm going to break from my usual routine and instead give a season review for a show. It's kind of late, as the show did debut not too long ago, a week, maybe two, but I'm going to do it anyway. The review is for the new Netflix show Castlevania. I happen to be a huge Castlevania fan. I was 6 years old when I played the original NES game at my friend Richie's house. This was 7 years after the game's release, and the NES had already come and gone, but I've always been a retro gamer. I love the old horror movie vibe of those early games. It was like they took the movie House of Frankenstein and set it in the Middle Ages. I think the series has hit some speed bumps, especially in recent years, but Castlevania is still close to my heart. The show's storyline is an adaptation of Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse, along with a little backstory that was provided in Symphony of the Night. If you're familiar with the story, the show will be familiar territory. If you aren't, I'm not going to spoil anything. The animation is great. Not movie caliber, but it looks good. The art style is somewhere between East and West, so whether you love or hate anime, though this isn't anime, you'll likely be happy with what's here. The character design has callbacks to Ayami Kojima's art style, but thankfully it's not a carbon copy. I find her interpretations always make the characters look like pretty boy hipster pirates. That's not the case for this show. The voice work is curious. It's set in Romania in the Middle Ages, but virtually everyone is speaking with an English accent. I found it jarring, but then I had to remind myself that this was really no different than the Dracula movies that Hammer Films had put out, and I happen to love those, so I got over it pretty quickly. Okay, now for my grievances. There are times when this show tries way too hard to be edgy. There's gore in scenes where it seems completely out of place and unnecessary. Not that I don't enjoy gratuitous gore, but it just seemed tacked on at times. Another thing is the dialogue. There are certain four-letter words, which I won't say so that this is safe for work, they get tossed around when I'm pretty sure that they wouldn't have been commonplace at that time, if they even existed at all. I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. It just comes across as juvenile. It wasn't until I saw in the credits that Adi Shankar, who's the same guy who produced that gosh-awful, edgy Power Rangers short, and then backpedaled and claimed that it was meant as satire. That guy, he produced this. Then it all made sense. The show also comes off as pretty anti-Christian, which, regardless of what your religious views are, if any, seems to fly in the face of what's presented in the games. Castlevania 3, which is the storyline that they're adapting, before you play, it literally starts with Trevor Belmont kneeling and praying in front of a gigantic cross. A bunch of the weapons are Christian-themed in nature, the rosary, holy water, the cross boomerang. I'm not saying that Castlevania should be turned into an evangelizing tool, but they should have at least one good person in the clergy that isn't some nameless background figure that appears in only one shot. Just a suggestion. I'm hoping that Dracula gets more screen time in the next season. He's prevalent in the first episode, and then goes MIA for the remaining three. Also, I hope that they introduce Grant and Nasty. I know Warren Ellis, the writers, made clear his distaste for that character, but I think if enough fans kick a stink up about it, Konami will probably pull the trigger and make that happen. So, all in all, Castlevania has problems, but it also has promise. It's better than it has any right to be, but that doesn't mean we can't expect it to be better. Let's hope that happens.